So Bears Commanders is the next game that we want to go to here. Interesting because, if Jaden Daniels plays, in what capacity is it? And we're obviously recording this on a Thursday. I didn't see that he was ruled. I didn't see that he was ruled out. He's not practicing because why would he practice? You don't want him to practice basically at all whatsoever. You want him to take as much rest as possible before he gets to Sunday and then see how he feels. But you're at home in this one. Bears are coming into town. How do we feel about it? What's the matchup that matters, Carmen?
I had one matchup that mattered, and then I ended up switching it because
All right.
I remembered what happened last time these two teams played, and DJ Moore went off. Like, that's AWF, off.
Okay.
He went for 230 yards, 3 touchdowns. Again, with a different quarterback. I get that. I don't necessarily think one is going to spill over to the other. But at this point, against Washington, DJ Moore has 5 touchdowns, which is the most against any opponent, tied with the Saints, except he's played 5 games against Washington. He's played 10 games against the Saints. So he has the same amount of production in half as many games, 16.1 yards per reception average. Can he continue to do this with Caleb Williams, who... I mean, they went off together against DJ Moore's former team in Carolina, and that's something that they've already established this really good connection. And DJ Moore was telling Chicago reporters even today that he's like, I'm not going to sit up here and pretend like I don't think about the last time I was in Washington and what happened there. So he's like, I'm a little juiced up for it. We're going to see what happens. I'm hoping for the same kind of performance, but you never really know. That is going to be, I think, the biggest thing for the Chicago Bears is who goes off. We've seen that kind of each week. There's a different receiver or offensive weapon that Caleb Williams has kind of connected with. Now he's run the gamut. So now you start back over, and who do you identify as a guy that you want to be the focal point of the offense this week, which is a really good problem to have for the Chicago Bears, and how does that match up with Washington's secondary, who ends up on DJ Moore? I think the receiver and kind of corner combos on both sides of this are kind of the matchups to watch, because that was my one before, and I think that you have Terry McLaurin against the Bears corners, or against Jalen Johnson in particular. That was my initial one, and I think that is going to be just as equally of a sway as to how this game goes.
Terry McLaurin and Jalen Johnson. It's going to be a fun one. Get your popcorn ready, as the saying goes. McLaurin, 331 yards versus single coverage this season. That's number 1 in the NFL. Jalen Johnson, 65.8 PFF grade when in single coverage this year. That's 24th among corners. But let's be real. It's Jalen Johnson. The position is very cyclical anyways. We know that he could come out and absolutely shut down any receiver basically at any time. So I think that's going to be a massive matchup in this one because, like the statistics say, the Washington offense likes to go through McLaurin, especially in single coverage situations, and we've been asking them to do so, I feels like, over the last 3 to 4 years. Now they have a quarterback that is willing to put the ball his way, and an offensive coordinator that is willing to dial things up and give him the chance to be able to go make those plays in single coverage. So to me, that is big time the matchup that matters, because if you can shut down McLaurin, especially if it's not Jaden Daniels that's out there playing,
right,
this becomes a very advantageous matchup then for the Chicago Bears, in my opinion. So that one means a lot. My plus factor in this one, I'm going to go back to the cornerback and I'm not going to call an interception here for him, although he could absolutely get one. I am so impressed with the way that Mike Sainristil is playing this year, and I am so happy that a player of his caliber and talent and just competitiveness went to a coach like Dan Quinn, because it's been up and down for the Commanders coverage group, I think, since the season started, but it has been getting better lately. And I think when you look at Sainristil, people looked at him in the draft and they said, okay, this is only a slot corner. I thought he'd primarily be a slot corner at the NFL level, but he has been playing a lot as a wide corner as well. And I think that is because this coaching staff looks at Sainristil and says, okay, sure, he's going to give up a little bit of length. He's going to give up a little bit of strength because he is just a smaller player, but damn, he is not going to back down from a single fight, no matter how many times we put him out there against the other team's best receiver. And so this maybe shouted as a plus factor is more of a salute to Sainristil and how well he has played through the first half of his rookie season, but also him playing at wide corner, which I did not think was going to be the case. And him in this game, I think if he can really get up in these Bears wide receivers, DJ Moore as one of them, Romo Dunze, Keenan Allen, like whoever it is, if he can really shut those guys down, especially in single coverage roles, now, again, we're talking about you really evening things out and making life difficult on Caleb Williams. And I think that that's going to be a big time plus factor in this one. So who do you have as your plus factor?
Well, I want to go one thing back to Scary Terry, because
Okay.
the reason I had him as my initial matchup that mattered is because I keep talking about how he's quarterback proof, right? Like he has had production no matter who his quarterback has been. He's like actually DJ Moore in that regard. And then when I was kind of just poking around at some of these stats for Terry McLaurin, one jumped out at me, and it's no surprise he leads the league in contested catches. So that's why you saw the fact that he is incredible no matter who the quarterback is, because all you need to do is give him a chance. And that doesn't require a whole lot of accuracy. He's got a really good catch radius, and he comes down with these balls that even if he's covered, you can still throw it to him. So that's my little ode to Terry McLaurin, ode to Scary Terry. I think what he's doing and has been doing in Washington is incredible. But my plus factor then is we'll see if Jaden Daniels plays. Cliff Kingsbury, though, I haven't heard enough. Like people have mentioned, obviously, that Cliff Kingsbury was Caleb Williams' offensive coordinator at USC, but just the implications that then has for when Caleb Williams goes to Washington, which is his hometown. He's going to be juiced up. He's going to play against his hometown team, but he's facing a guy that understands him in every aspect. And if you don't think that Cliff Kingsbury has been meeting with Dan Quinn this week, telling him the lowdown on Caleb Williams and where to attack him, I've got news for you, man. That's exactly what they've been doing all week. So Cliff Kingsbury was so incredibly complimentary this week when talking about Caleb Williams and just the athlete that he is. But this is the guy that while he knows Caleb Williams' strengths, he knows Caleb Williams' weaknesses too. And this is, Caleb has gotten his sea legs underneath him. He's playing with confidence, but the Bears really haven't had tests when it comes to the offensive side of the ball going against really stingy defenses. And that's going to change this week. The talent still leaves some to be desired. I don't know that I'm a huge believer yet in Washington's defense from a talent perspective, but I do have a lot of faith in Dan Quinn. So that's where this is going to become really, really interesting when you have a guy that understands Caleb Williams across the spectrum in the ear of the guy that's designing a game plan against him.
I wonder if Cliff Kingsbury is going to play scout team quarterback like John Gruden did for Rich Gannon before the Super Bowl. Anybody who's watched I can't remember which one it is. It's one of the videos that they made about the 2002 Super Bowl run that the Buccaneers had. But Gruden, who obviously came over from the Raiders, he was their offense coordinator, and then the very next year he's the head coach of the Buccaneers. They're playing the Raiders in the Super Bowl. Gruden literally played as the scout team quarterback to try to emulate exactly what Rich Gannon is going to do against the defense, and it really helped them out. So I wonder if Cliff Kingsbury is getting under center or in the shotgun.
I don't know if Cliff Kingsbury is as athletic as you need a guy like playing scout team quarterback Caleb Williams is, but
I don't know. He's in shape guy. He looks a little spry, so I think he can figure it out. I just wonder, maybe he'll get back there and try to emulate his or give his best Caleb Williams impression.